right, greetings from Las Vegas and welcome to week 11 of the pro football season. It's going too fast. It's getting a lot of fun, though. We have another packed show today. Beat the Odds starts right now.
From our Las Vegas studios, this is Beat the Odds, sponsored by Superbook Westgate Las Vegas.
And here we go. Welcome inside our Las Vegas studio. I'm Dave Hall.
And I'm Mariah Janos. There are some very clear betting trends to ride right now. Number one is primetime games, the unders hitting at an insane clip. The boys will tell us why.
And the number two betting trend to follow, Fat Jack. Dude is hotter than a European Speedo.
Which, I mean, go figure. That's exactly what he's wearing today.
Oh, no. All right. Well, coming up on today's show, Fat Jack and Teddy will drill down on those primetime unders, why it's happening, and which primetime game might go under this week.
Plus, we're taking a closer look at the MVP race as we enter the back half of the season. And Brandon Marshall is back to talk about the unraveling in Buffalo. I'll be back in a bit. Dave, over to you.
Thanks, Mariah. Thankfully, he's at least wearing a long shirt today.
So many thoughts running through my head, none of them appropriate for the show.
All right, we're back with Teddy and Captain Speedo over here. Let's start with all the crazy finishes and some of the bad beats we saw last week, guys.
Sure, there were certainly two bad beats worthy of note last week. Of course, Green Bay at Pittsburgh, they missed the extra point. What happens? When all's said and done, that missed extra point, the difference between covering and not covering, plus 3.5, no good if you had Green Bay. And of course, Baltimore, minus 6.5 at Cleveland. They've got a 90% win expectancy. They're up 2 scores in the fourth quarter. What happens? The pick six, the punts, the meltdown. 90% win expectancy, no good if you had Baltimore. Cleveland plus the points, all good if you had that side of it.
Even more impressive when you find out Deshaun Watson has a broken shoulder.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, thank you for running through my Sunday. I mean, it's one of those things that you get those type of days where I had Green Bay, had Baltimore. You're going to run into some of those bad beats. But this time of year, if your bankroll is going up and down solely based on that, you're doing a lot wrong. So you've got to be able to absorb those, not panic. But in a league where games come down to the last few seconds, you're going to have some of those days where everything goes against you.
And we had a lot of those games. It was a very good Sunday to be a field goal kicker.
Sure was. A record. 6 games decided by walk-off field goals. Cleveland plus 6.5 against Baltimore. I mean, that's the one we just talked about.
Yep.
That was insane. Houston plus 6.5 at Cincinnati. I mean, impressive upset, no doubt. Arizona, plus 2.5 at Atlanta. Kyler Murray's return, impressive. Detroit, minus 3 at LA. Well, that's a push when all's said and done. Seattle, minus 7 against Washington. Didn't get the money. They got the W. And same story with Buffalo against Denver. Well, Denver got the money and the straight-up W in that one. All walk-offs, not often. In fact, never happened before. Jack.
Yeah, and I will tell you, it's not always great to be a kicker because I know there were a lot of people that were cussing some of these kicker situations, but they're missing
Sure.
extra points. I mean, you're paid to make extra points and field goals. Probably need to make the ones we need to.
No doubt. All right, Teddy, $20. Fat Jack, 27-yard field goal. Does he make it or miss it?
Oh, I'm taking the no.
No, it's 100% I'm going to make it.
Really?
No, 100%. Yeah,
We got to set this up.
Honestly, I've thought about doing all the 40-yard dash, all those type of things. You'd be surprised at what my history is. I was the leading goal scorer for the blue team back in 1981. I was 11.
Whatever that is, even Mariah's snickering off in the corner. We're going to set that up and make this happen in the future. All right, fellas, we're going to get deeper into some of these primetime games coming up in the next segment. In the meantime, all those game-winning kicks led to either cheers or tears at Las Vegas Sportsbooks. Mariah was at the Superbook Westgate Las Vegas earlier this week with more on that.
Thanks, Dave. I'm here with EVP of Superbook Operations, Mr. Jay Cornegay. Jay, we are on to Week 11, but let's go back to Week 10. How did you guys do here at the book?
Well, I know a lot of people are talking about these big upsets that we saw on Sunday, but there were 12 games on Sunday, and we won 4 of them. The public had their way. There was a lot of action, of course, on these popular teams, and those teams came through for the general public.
Now, one of those upsets, Houston taking Cincinnati's money. All right, that game, Houston on the steady incline. C.J. Stroud is being absolutely phenomenal out there. What are you hearing from the Sharps out there about this Houston team?
Well, the Sharps do love Houston. We haven't said that for quite a long time now, but everybody's talking about CJ and his play, but it's more about their defense, their running game, and CJ. So all aspects about this Houston team are clicking right now, and the educated players really are enjoying this run by Houston.
And one trend we've been seeing so far this season, the unders hitting at a pretty high clip. Do you expect that to continue?
We don't expect that to continue. What we've seen in the past, it usually evens out in the long run. Even though bookmakers are making adjustments and lowering totals, we do expect some weather to come into play as well. But what we've seen in the past, overs will start showing up. So don't lock in on those unders just yet.
All right, so don't close your eyes and just pick an under anymore. It's going to change. All right, Jay, thank you so much. Dave will send it back to you in studio.
All right, thanks to both you guys. Up next, prime time has been dime time. They were just talking about it. If you're betting the unders, you're winning big. The boys will tell us why prime time points are way down. Plus, Brandon Marshall joins us next as well.
Before we head to break, with 356 passing yards in Week 10, Houston quarterback C.J. Stroud became the third player since 1950 with 3 games of at least 350 passing yards in their rookie season. Who are the other 2? The answer after the break.
Beat the Odds is sponsored by Superbook Westgate Las Vegas.
Welcome back. Before the break, we asked you, before C.J. Stroud, who were the other 2 quarterbacks to record 3 games of at least 350 passing yards in their rookie season. The answer, Cam Newton, who did it for Carolina in 2011, and Andrew Luck, who did it for Indianapolis back in 2012.
You know, rumor has it Fat Jack once threw for 350 yards as well back in 1989. Now he was playing Tecmo Bowl, but still, that was a good video game outing for Fat Jack. Well, scan that QR code on your TV screen. It will take you to our website, beattheoddstv.com. Well, let's bring in our champ. He didn't have to play video games to do big things. Brandon Marshall. You won your ring in Denver. Let's start right there. I don't know, it was about 5 weeks ago. We were lamenting your former team giving up 70 points to Miami, and now here they are. Beat Kansas City, beat Buffalo. What changed?
I'm not sure what type of revelation they had, but it's a completely different team, right? They were giving up on average 36 points per game, right? The first 5 games, right? The last 4 games, they've only given up 16 points per game. So that defense has turned it around. Russell Wilson looks like Russell Wilson of old. You saw him, the way he eluded the rush and making these dimes, right, against Buffalo. So, I mean, I'm not sure whatever happened, but it looks amazing.
That one throw and catch by Sutton in the corner.
Amazing.
Unbelievable.
Fantastic.
Well, they beat Buffalo last time out, kind of on the opposite end. They're kind of going the other direction. They're now 5-5 on the season. This was a team a lot of people had pegged as maybe coming here to Vegas to play in the game. Is their window closed?
I think their window is closed. Right,
Okay.
Their window is absolutely closed. Their window was, right, first of all, they should have, in that championship game against Kansas City, they should have won that game that went to overtime. Okay, so they had that year, then they had the next year. But this year, it looks like the team cohesiveness isn't there. The turnovers by Josh Allen is just, they just can't overcome it, right?
Yeah.
They turned the ball over 4 times against Denver. And Josh Allen is just a turnover machine. Now, he's a great player.
Right.
He runs it well, he throws it well, but at the same time, I think their window as a team is closed. You can see that. I think Stephon Diggs will become a little disgruntled. He's going to want out of that city and onto a team that could actually go to the big game.
His brother's been chirping on social media. We probably saw that. Well, let's finish up with one of the themes we're talking about during the show. These primetime games have been so low scoring this year. As a player, when you're going into one of these big primetime games, and you played in a lot of them, does the mentality change? I mean, as a player, how do you guys approach that?
Well, I mean, I guess it changes that you're excited, right? You're the only game on television. All eyes are on you, right? So I can't really attest that to the low scoring. I'm not sure that's why it's low scoring. Maybe it's it's a mix of the teams that they put in these primetime games, or
a lot of New York games in primetime.
Exactly,
So.
New York, Las Vegas, right? Even Denver. Denver's not going to be a high scoring team. Buffalo traditionally is, but their offense is way out of whack right now. So I can't really explain it, but I will say that the players just get up, right? You're more excited.
Sure.
You want to play the best under the lights. So, typically that will lead to best performances, but, maybe that's why it's just a tough matchup.
Maybe some players get a little too tense and it goes the other direction.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon, as always, thank you, sir. Well, one of the best bets all season has been the primetime unders, and here's Jack with some reasons why.
Yeah, it's become more than just a light trend. It's been an easy way to make money. If you've been betting under in these primetime games, you have done nothing but win. It's a couple of different reasons why. Certainly backup quarterbacks, we've talked a lot about that. Basically limiting mistakes, the coach is trying to prevent those mistakes, and so everything becomes more conservative. That has certainly led to unders. If you're a fan of any team from New York, Las Vegas, those type of teams, you are not wanting them to play in primetime because that's a double whammy that's going to send these games under. And really, the trends have been incredible this year and making people a lot of money, right, Teddy?
Sure. I mean, if you've been riding the trends on unders, you've made, I'd say, a small fortune so far this season. It's holiday season right now. So what do we talk about? The gift that keeps on giving. Primetime unders, 11-0. The last 11 heading into Thursday night, 12-1 the last 13, 25-7 full season primetime unders. Oh, and by the way, 5-0 international games as well. So when we talk about why, two main issues for me. One, when you're talking about primetime games, everyone loves points. People want to bet overs, so the markets are a little bit inflated. What's happened? Well, not so much. Scoring down. And of course, when we talk about the full season trends in pro football this year, 60% for every game to the under. And those type of trends don't normally last a full season. Maybe we see some more scoring moving forward.
Yeah, we love an auto bet, right? I mean, this time of year, you're looking for things, especially if you're having some of the bad beats and the missed extra points. But you have to be careful betting auto bets in the month of November and beyond, because just like we're sitting here talking about it, all the general public then starts riding those trends. Those totals are going to continue to sink, creating some value with the over, especially in these primetime games. So if you're a guy that has missed out on this great run, don't all of a sudden expect to be able to get rich. Continue to play these primetime unders going forward.
And you think about NFL scheduling as well. We've seen a lot of the New York teams, because they were expected to be good this year. Aaron Rodgers goes down. Of course, that completely changes that offense.
Sure. There's been a bunch of teams that have been lesser scoring or supposed to be better that have been playing recent primetime games. We've seen Carolina in primetime games, Chicago in primetime games. And when you have offensively challenged teams playing on national TV, guess what? They're still offensively challenged.
And combined with the teams that we thought were going to be really good offensively, like Buffalo, but he's throwing it to the other team as much as his own team, they're having to really pull in their game plan to make sure they don't give extra possessions to their opponents. So it's been basically a lining of the stars to keep all these things under. But I just caution people going forward, don't expect to continue at that rate.
Even like a Kansas City, which used to be an auto bet, not this year.
Well, and that's been the thing. Kansas City, people don't realize, in the second half, they are leading. They've gone under every single game. They're 7-2 to the under this season, but in the second half, they've been under every single game. They're only averaging 5.5 points per game in the second half. So all of you people out there that are Kansas City fans, you might want to not book your reservation just yet. This team's going to have to get it going, at least in the second half of some of these games moving forward, to get enough points as they get down the line a little bit.
And we'll talk a little KC Philly before this show is through and see if that under trend maybe continues moving forward.
And on that note, you two hang tight, fellas, because we're going to need your battling skills next. It's our player prop showdown. See who they're debating. Actually, I'm just going to tell you who. Travis Kelce.
Taylor Swift's boyfriend.
That's right. That's next.
Before we take our next time out, with 151 receiving yards in Week 10, wide receiver CeeDee Lamb became the second player in Dallas history to record at least 900 yards through the first 9 games of a season. Who was the first? The answer after the break.
You're watching Beat the Odds, sponsored by Superbook Westgate, Las Vegas.
Welcome back. Before the break, we asked you before CeeDee Lamb who was the first Dallas receiver to record at least 900 receiving yards through the team's first 9 games of the season. The answer, they both wore 88, the great Michael Irvin. As we enter the back half of the season, we're getting a better feel for which teams have playoff promise, and with that comes the MVP race, which is still ever evolving. Heading into Sunday of Week 10, there was a 3-way tie at the top of the MVP odds boards between Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and Lamar Jackson. After Sunday's slate of games and Baltimore's loss to Cleveland, the two guys on byes, Mahomes and Hurts, have broken free from the tie. Mahomes moved into the top spot, and this, to me, is nothing but recency bias. Let's just put Mahomes at number 1 until someone can really bump him. Right on Mahomes' heels, though, is Jalen Hurts. The two are putting up almost identical numbers at the moment, with a pass completion rate just shy of 69%, each of them with 8 interceptions. Hurts has just 2 fewer touchdowns than Mahomes, with 15 as opposed to Patty's 17. But what really jumped out at me in terms of line movement, the savior down in Houston, Mr. CJ Stroud. Before Sunday, his MVP odds were around 40-1. After the takedown of Cincinnati, those odds have been cut in half, as he's sitting around 25-1. Some books even have him at 20-1. It's still a long shot, but this kid is a rookie that looks nothing like a rookie. If Houston does in fact make the postseason, there will be more of a case for Stroud to truly be considered for this award. In league history, there's only been one rookie to win MVP, and that was Jim Brown back in the 50s. For this award, I want to look outside the quarterback market, though. Sure, there have been only 8 non-quarterbacks to win MVP in the last 33 years, but let's make it 9. No one quarterback is dominating this season. Mahomes hasn't been wheeling and dealing in the ways he's capable of. Tua seems to only be able to air it out against teams with losing records. And just don't get me started on Josh Allen right now. So let's shift our focus to the definition of consistency, the workhorse that is Christian McCaffrey. Despite his touchdown streak coming to an end, he's still on pace for an 1,000+ yard season. At 18-1 odds, there's good value there, but we'll get a much better idea of who's locking down the award once the playoff picture is solidified.
All right, thanks, Mariah. These two haven't seen a gym since the dinosaur went extinct, but no matter. It's Teddy against Jack in our player prop showdown. Today, the boys are going to debate Travis Kelce. Will he or will he not score a touchdown this weekend? Teddy, you start.
Oh, yes, let's start with the Travis Kelce will not score a TD. Basically, this is a pick-em price right now. And obviously, these two teams played in a pretty big game last February, and it was a shootout, a wild shootout, 38-35 final score. And Kelce, 6 targets, 6 catches, 81 yards, and a touchdown in that ball game. But this is this ball game. Both teams coming off a bye. Both teams moved the ball up and down the field against each other when they last played. What do you think they worked on during the bye week? Stopping the opposing team's best weapons. And Kelce is absolutely KC's best weapon. We've already seen sharp money show for the no TD in this one this week, and sharp money showing for the under in the full game as well. Yeah, it's a primetime game, but people are expecting a lot more defense, at least the savvy guys that I know, expecting a lot more defense this time around. Kelce, no TD this week.
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you, even with the lack of scoring that Kansas City's been giving out, especially in the second half, saying you're going to stop Travis Kelce or Christian McCaffrey, we just talked about him, that's obviously number one for all these teams, but nobody's having a good, they're not doing that a whole lot. So I think that this is one of those games where you look, where's Taylor Swift going to be? And also you look at Philadelphia's secondary, and there are injuries in the secondary. And I do think that if Kansas City's going to win or even cover, and they're a 2.5 point favorite, he's going to have to play a big role in that because their offensive identity is certainly not that good right now. So I definitely think he's going to get involved whether they try to stop him or not. And frankly, a bet on the no is a bet against love. And I'm not doing that. I'm not willing to do that, especially at Arrowhead. Go ahead and give me yes. I think Travis Kelce will find a way to get in the end zone at least on Sunday or Monday.
All right. Thank you for that love poem of some sort. While Teddy has been cleaning house with these props, Jack has bragging rights when it comes to best bets. He's now 9-1 on the season? Wow. We'll see who they both like this week. Best bets are next.
Before we take our final timeout, in Week 10, Pittsburgh linebacker T.J. Watt notched his 88th career sack. He passed his brother J.J. and moved into second place for the most sacks by a player in their first 100 games. But who has the most? The answer after the break. Welcome back. Before the break, we asked you, with 88, Pittsburgh linebacker T.J. Watt has the second most sacks by a player in their first 100 games. But who has the most? The answer, the Minister of Defense, the late, great Reggie White, who recorded 105 sacks in the first 100 games of his career.
Okay, speaking of really strong guys, a player once bench pressed 700 pounds. Do you guys know who it was?
Me.
Dr. Death Steve Williams.
Jonathan Ogden?
Nope.
I'm just trying.
Dallas lineman Larry Allen. who tried to block Reggie White back in the day. I saw the video, 700 pounds.
He got a lot of practice lifting his plates of food up to his mouth. So.
Well, then why can't you
Pays off.
bench press 700?
I keep asking myself the same thing. So.
All right, well, it is best bet time. Teddy, you get us started.
All right, I'll start this week. Let's talk about Denver at Minnesota. And I understand I stepped in front of Minnesota last week and lost. I'm doing it again. They're living on borrowed time. We saw some of it the second half. I'll give all the respect in the world for Josh Dobbs. All right, he's certainly come in a place where no one expected him to have success right away, and has had great success the first 2 weeks. But now he's got to go on the road and play a real defense. And that might be the biggest issue here of all. When we talk about this point spreads tend to be set on full season statistical profiles. And when you look at Denver's full season statistical profile, their defense stinks. Boy, you go, wow, this defense is awful. And then you watch them over the last 4 weeks. Dynamite performance all 4 games. What was happening in September for Denver's defense isn't what's happening now. It's a real defense now. And we're talking about laying a modest price, less than a field goal at home. Count me in. Denver over Minnesota.
Teddy hates Minnesota. It's 2 weeks in a row.
It's too cold.
Exactly.
All right, Jack, fire off.
So let's look at Miami. All right, you can't fire your head coach and go to the backup quarterback. If it was that easy, everybody might do it. But when you're winning the state of New York, I don't know that we can account that for much. I mean, that's both New York teams, not very good, especially offensively. Miami is not New York. 20 points will not be enough here. I like Miami laying the big number that keeps moving up and up against Las Vegas. I think they're going to have trouble putting points up. Also, Miami really good against bad teams. I mean, if you look, they are covering a lot of numbers against really bad teams, and I think that it's inflated a little bit with Las Vegas. So lay the points, play Miami.
All right, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, everybody.